Hey kids, this is Pulse Ray Vision coming to you live from Quattro Cinco Studios in my mom's basement. And I am here to read another chapter of Rings of Dust to you and add it to the playlist. We're on chapter 12. So I'm going to share my screen and we will get right into that. Here we go. All right, so chapter 12, Rings of Dust, Pier 9. The room was wrong in the specific way all motel rooms were wrong. The air system cycling, the carpet with its pattern that suggested intention but delivered only exhaustion, the map of the light under the door that flickered once when someone walked down the hall and then went still. 3:14 a.m. Emily had been awake since 1, which meant she had slept for 3 hours, which was enough and was not enough. She lay on top of the covers with her shoes on. This was Sharon's protocol for uncertain environments. Stay dressed, stay ready, sort out what you need from what you want when there's light. The road atlas was on the nightstand. She had bought it at a Chevron outside Sacramento. Not for navigation. The phone handled that, but because Sharon had always kept one in the car. Paper doesn't need a signal. Sharon had 100 small protocols like that, each one a lesson that arrived sideways through action rather than instruction. Emily had been running them all without realizing it. The perimeter walk before bed, the shoes, the atlas. She'd been running Sharon for 4 years and had not let herself name it. She stared at the ceiling. There was a question she hadn't answered. In a parking garage in the weeks before everything broke, Sharon had asked her what she was doing this for. Emily had said it was contractual, and Sharon had looked at her for a long moment and said, "That's not what I asked." Emily had never answered it. She had deflected it into something operational, and Sharon had let her, because Sharon understood when to push and when to let a thing sit. The question had been waiting. It was still waiting. She thought about Cole. When they were children, when their father was between jobs and their mother worked doubles and the apartment had that specific acoustic quality of a place that holds too many silences, it had been Emily who handled it. Cole's school forms, Cole's lunches, Cole getting himself into configurations that required extraction. She had done it automatically, the way she now ran Sharon's protocols, the way you become someone's backup system without being asked. She wanted him here, not to fix anything, just to be the larger presence in the room for once. The person standing between her and whatever was outside the door. She'd been the door. She'd been the door for so long. At 3:14 in a motel with wrong carpet, she let herself want that for exactly as long as it took to name it. Then she turned over, closed her eyes, and thought, "In the morning, I will check the car, perimeter, underneath door handles." Sharon showed me how. That was enough. That was what she had. Emily checked the car before she got in. This was Sharon's rule, and she applied it now from memory. Walk the perimeter, look underneath, check the door handles for anything that didn't belong. She did it methodically, the way Sharon had showed her, not rushed, not dramatic, just thorough. The note was on the driver's seat. Emily, Pier 9, R. All right, so this is not great. Let's take 56 through 59. Can be cut because it says the exact same thing right afterwards. There we go. All right, Emily checked. Yeah, we went over that. Okay, she transferred her contacts to a new phone at the nearest mobile shop, had the old one wiped, installed the encrypted messaging suite before she pulled back onto Highway 101. The vineyard hills rolled past the windows in a way she hadn't noticed before. She'd driven this road 100 times and never actually seen it. Brushing up against death has a way of returning you to the world, she thought. The road to the pier required paid parking, which still annoyed her even now with a new phone and a knife weight in her chest and Sharon 4 days dead. A planked footpath led down to the pier into the smell of the ocean, seagulls in the distance, the late afternoon light turning the water into hammered bronze. Rachel was already there, leaning against the pier railing with the practiced stillness of someone accustomed to waiting in invisible places without being noticed. Up close, she was taller than she looked on television, composed, alert, with the quality of attention the anchor desk camera had never quite caught. Emily had been awake for most of the day and was running on chemistry and willpower. Rachel looked like she'd been awake longer than that and had stopped keeping track. She positioned herself at the exact midpoint of the railing, not the end where the view was the best, but at the precise acoustic center where the wind off the water ate the ambient sound. You kicked a hornet's nest, Rachel said. A big one. I thought it was over. Emily stood beside her at the railing. Below them, the water moved against the pier's pillars in its slow, patient rhythm. It was never going to be over after the crystals. Rachel kept her voice below the wind. There's no cell service in this spot, not for any of the major carriers. I've been using it for 2 years. Emily looked at her, the news anchor who was somehow here at a pier with a dead signal and a way of talking that belonged to someone much further up the chain than she had any reason to be. Who are you, Rachel? Not the TV version. Rachel was quiet for a moment. She looked at the water. Someone who has been inside both rooms long enough to know what's actually in them. She turned to Emily. Alpha will take any opening they get. They're patient. They're resource rich. And Marcus Vergold is very, very bored with the arrangement he currently has. A pause. Our people were supposed to intercept Green Bomb before he found you. Your friend moved faster than we expected. Her name was Sharon. Rachel did not shift or soften. She had heard the name before Emily said it. Emily could feel that, the way you can feel when someone already knows the answer to a question you're asking. I know her name. Rachel said it with a directness that was not unkind. Sharon Tees. Collective adjacent since the patent wars. She ran the best unauthorized parts network the gray market ever had. We tried to recruit her formally 3 times. She said no all 3 times. A small silence. She was stubborn in the best possible way. There was a moment, brief, unguarded, when Rachel's composure shifted and something warmer came through. Not a crack in the armor, more like a window left open by accident. And the person behind it, too focused on what she was saying to notice she'd left it open. Emily noticed. She filed it the way you file something that you don't understand yet, but you'll need later. Okay, the pressure came behind her eyes. She blinked hard once, set her jaw. Not here, not yet. What now? Your brother is orbiting Saturn, collecting the most valuable resources in the known universe. He's doing this inside a ship whose AI backbone was installed by Alpha, with a crew member who answers to Alpha. He's in danger, and he is currently managing, but cannot manage indefinitively. Cannot manage indefinitively. Rachel turned to her to face her directly. The man who designed the Iris system before Alpha got to it, scientist named Conrad, built the original architecture, a system called Gracie. Alpha took it, gutted it, and turned it into Iris. Conrad documented everything, every modification, every piece of his original design they stripped out, every failsafe he built that they didn't know about. He stored his research at a classified site in the desert before he disappeared. You want me to go get it? Vance Black Operations Federal Council is already looking for it. If the Federation gets Conrad's research, it disappears into a filing cabinet, and the evidence disappears with it. The Federation is not our ally in this. They think they are, but the Federation doesn't make decisions, it executes them. The decisions come from Alpha. The decisions come from Marcus. He spent 15 years making sure of that. Rachel held her eyes. The collective needs Conrad's research before the Federation buries it, and before Taylor does whatever he's been sent out there to do. And you can't go by yourself. I have to stay exactly where I am, visible on camera in Marcus's periphery for this to work. She turned back to the water. You, on the other hand, need to be somewhere no one is looking. Emily watched the horizon. The sun was setting on the edge of it, bleeding into the haze. I used to think I was doomed to be average. Sharon was the first person who told me I wasn't. She was right about that, Rachel said. The palm trees along the pier swayed in the early evening wind. Emily looked at them, and then at the water, and then at Rachel, who was watching her with settled patience of someone who has already made their own decision and is waiting to see what someone else decides. No flights, no cards, Rachel said. Use the burner. The collective has a car staged 2 blocks from your place. It's already clean. The plates are current. There's a bag in the trunk. Cash, a second phone, directions. She reached into her jacket and produced a small card. Just a number, handwritten. This is not my number, but someone will answer. The directions in the bag will take you to the site. It's off a dirt road. You'll know when you see it. Someone will be there. Emily took the card. If something goes wrong, if something will go wrong, Rachel said. And it's not the question. The question is whether you're the kind of person who keeps going when it does. Something landed in her chest, kind of thing that arrives late, after the adrenaline. There'd been a car at the far edge of the lot. She had not registered it at the time. She had been running. She had not had the attention to spare. She registered it now. Based on what I saw on that lot, I think you already know the answer to that. A pause settled between them. The light was going fast now. Emily turned and walked back toward the parking lot. Rachel followed a few steps and then stopped. The collective needs people who choose it, Rachel called after her. Not because their brother's in danger, because they've decided the world they want to live in is worth building. A beat. Cole would do the same for you, but that's not what I'm asking. Emily didn't turn around. I know, she said. She kept walking. She got to the collective car. The interior smelled like nothing, which meant someone had cleaned it recently and thoroughly, the way you clean a thing before you hand it to someone who might need to disappear in it. Full tank, a bag in the trunk, exactly where Rachel said it would be. The seat was cold through her jeans. She sat down for a moment with her hands on the wheel, looking through the windshield at nothing specific. Then she started. The engine and pulled out. Okay, so she says the car is a couple blocks, and then she gets into this car that sounds like it's in the parking lot. So in lines where does she give her the instruction? Here, right here. In lines 170 through 171, Rachel tells about the car. Then in 203, It sounds like the car is in the parking lot. Oh yeah, yeah. Tells about the car 2 blocks from house. It's a little confusing. All right. I-15 north. The city peeled away behind her. The headlights cut a narrow corridor of road, and the rest was dark. Not city dark, not overcast dark. The absolute dark of a desert that had nothing between the pavement and the stars. The air through the crack window was dry and cool and tasted like dust and distance. Emily counted Joshua trees for a few miles until the counting stopped, meaning anything. She thought about Sharon teaching her to check the car before getting in. Sharon teaching her to set the hand signals for the collective's lower ranks, which Emily had treated as trivia for years and now wished she'd memorized better. Sharon driving this exact stretch of desert 2 years ago at 4 in the morning because Emily had made a call she should have made, and Sharon had answered without asking why. The yellow lines came at her in the headlights, steady and relentless. Somewhere past Victorville, her grip on the wheel softened. Her eyes had been open for 30 hours, and her body was filled with final arguments for closing them. She caught herself thinking about the car, the water at the pier, the sound of it, the rhythm. The rumble strips hit like a slap. Brr, brr. The steering wheel went wild in her hands, passenger tires chewing gravel shoulder, a scrubby desert brush shrieking against the car's flank. Emily wrenched it back into the pavement. Hard in her throat, adrenaline rewriting everything in her nervous system at once. She pulled over at the next exit, gas station, fluorescent lights. She sat at the pump for a minute before getting out. Inside, she bought 2 energy drinks and a bottle of water and stood at the counter and let the fluorescent hum of the place do its work. The kid behind the register didn't look at her. The refrigerator compressor ran. Outside, a semi pulled through. She looked at the number on the card Rachel had given her. She dialed. 2 rings. Go ahead, a woman's voice, not Rachel's, measured, unhurried, the voice of someone for whom odd-hour calls were simply calls. Emily knew the shape of the call before the woman finished the second word. She'd been around the edges of this network for years through Sharon, and she knew a collective line when she was on one. No raindrop thinks it's the flood, she said. Sharon's phrase, the one she taught Emily like it was a joke back when Emily had thought it was one. A small pause. Not suspicion, confirmation. And no flood remembers the rain, the woman said. Go ahead, Emily. I'm northbound on I-15, just past Victorville. I'm headed to the site. She paused. I almost fell asleep at the wheel. A brief pause. Pull over and sleep for 3 hours. Set an alarm. You're no good to anyone in a ditch. Another pause. The timeline holds. You have room? Oh, the timeline holds. You have room. Okay. Are you all right, Miss Nova? Emily looked out through the gas station window, the dark desert, and the highway beyond it, and the headlights of a car passing on its way to something that had nothing to do with her. Not yet, she said, but I think I'm going to be. You're doing better than you think, the woman said, and you're not doing it alone. We're with you the whole way, every mile, every time you pick up this phone. Don't forget that part. A beat. Get your 3 hours, Emily. The line stayed open for a moment longer than it needed to be. The way a hand stays on your whole shoulder a second past the words, and then it closed. She drove the car to the edge of the lot, away from the lights. She reclined the seat, set a 3-hour alarm, closed her eyes. The desert held its quiet around her the way the desert does. Patient, enormous, indifferent in the best sense. No judgment in it, just distance. Just dark. just the stars coming out one at a time above the Joshua trees. She was asleep in under 2 minutes. All right, boom. That is chapter 12 of Rings of Dust. If you guys enjoy this and want to learn more about the cryptocurrency project that is based around it, where you can degen and gamble like someone with a serious gambling problem, check out agproject.io. Right? Oh, I got to go in front of my coconut water. agproject.io. And you can connect your wallet and buy cryptocurrency there. You can mint fuel cells and enjoy that game of tokenomics. Also, if you want to read the entire book, the public GitHub link is posted in our Telegram at t.me/anti-gravity saga. In the general chat, just go through the pinned messages. There's also a topic that is just about the book, Rings of Dust. And we'll catch you on the next stream. Ciao.